Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Hobby Quick Hits, episode 156 to be exact. We're going to do another Q&A episode today. I've asked for some questions for Q&As and I've gotten a pretty steady stream, so I've kind of done blocks of these and kind of spaced them out, but again, continue sending those questions to me and we'll make these episodes. If you're listening to this on day of release on the Monday, we are 23 days away from the 2023 National in Chicago. Hope you're getting excited. If you're listening to the show not on show release day, we're even closer to that National. It's July 4th weekend, and so hope you and yours have a safe and fun 4th of July. So with that being said, let's hear from Mojo Breaks, and we'll get the new release schedule, some news, and then we'll get to those questions you folks sent in.
MojoBreakShop.com is the best place to get your sealed wax products and brakes. They not only have the best selection, but the best prices. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they are your guys. They ship worldwide to your doorstep. Their reputation as one of the most trusted in the hobby goes unmatched. They are the 2021 Topps Rip Party Champion Breakers. From sports card to Pokemon cards, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders.
Hey guys, John Newman here. Mojo's prices are already great, but to save an additional 10% off anything in their store, use the code QUICKHITS. That's QUICKHITS. Check out the full service store that's open 7 days a week in Santa Clara, California, or the website at mojobreak.com.
Let's check out this week's hobby wax releases. Take it away, Owen. Let's check out this week's hobby wax releases. Take it away, Owen.
Let's go round the hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
All right, we got a few stories from around the hobbyverse, starting with CSG grading. Will now be CCG grading, and here's why. They are combining their trading card division with their sports card division. The label will be unified. They are doing away, well, you don't have to have a membership to submit now to grade. They do have a membership which will include additional perks, and so they are combining their trading. They were kind of separate. They're now making them unified. If you want to find out more about this, my guest is Vice President of CCG now. Andy Broom will be my guest this coming Friday on Sports Card Nation. So be sure to check that episode. It's going to talk all about that. We're going to chop up the grading space, some hobby stuff, the National, all that fun stuff. Panini has signed an NIL deal with local Dallas highly touted high school basketball player Trey Johnson. He'll play a year of college basketball with a major program and then be an NBA lottery pick. They have an exclusive deal for autographed cards with him. And I have Tracy Hackler coming up here in a few weeks. We'll talk about that amongst other things. But the landscape has changed with the NIL and Fanatics, taking over 3/4 of the license. So these NIL deals are all the more important. Topps has announced they're bringing back the MVP buyback. It's coming back. So whoever wins the AL and NL MVPs, you'll be able to submit their Chrome cards to your local card shop that participate in the program for store credit. And again, like last year, higher credits for rarer cards, colors, parallels, numbers, that sort of thing. ESPN did a feature on ESPN.com about hobby breaking, centered around Leighton Breaks. Rich Leighton, kind of how he started from the bottom and worked his way up to $1 million business. There's some familiar people mentioned in the article, including Beckett's Ryan Cracknell. It's actually very long in detail and an interesting read, fairly accurate. I mean, but you could tell that the writer was not familiar with the hobby, which is how he worded some things. But actually, all things being considered, pretty interesting piece and another instance where the hobby has infiltrated mainstream media. Upper Deck has announced a partnership with Top Legends to produce what they're calling value notes, one player each year for the next 7 years. You can find them at toplegends.com. This year's players, Wayne Gretzky, and these look like banknotes. This looks like money with holograms and that sort of thing. Kind of interesting. Pretty high price tag at $400 something. I don't know how limited these are or aren't, but go if interested, go to toplegends.com and check those out.
And now, our feature presentation.
Time for the segment where you ask me a question and I answer it here on the podcast.
All right, folks, these are a lot of fun. Again, thank you for sending these questions to make these shows happen. If continue to do that, we'll keep doing these every so often. I don't want to do them all the time, but we'll do them every so often. So we got a handful of questions we're going to tackle on this week's Hobby Quick Hits. Let's start with, who is your favorite guest? And that is from Sean. Man, that's, we've had over 200 guests on all our shows combined. And, to pick one, really at number one probably wouldn't be fair to a lot of other people. I have favorite shows for some of the feedback they're getting, when my dad was on and kind of talked about growing up in Brooklyn and us going back and forth, probably the most feedback I got. Wasn't the most downloaded show, but the most feedback with, people. I had 3 people write me and say, hey, they were estranged from their father, and that episode kind of urged them or put them over the edge to call their dads and sort of bury the hatchet. And so I guess when you have that sort of effect on life stuff, right, which I had no idea when putting that show together that was going to be the case. Believe me, I'd like to take credit for it, but I can't. But when stuff like that happens, that leaves an impact. I even shared that with my wife and showed her those DMs and emails where folks said that, and she's not a listener of the show, but she was shocked of the impact that it had. She was pretty impressed by that. So, that in a sense, the show itself, but I appreciate all the guests that come on this show or Sports Card Nation, obviously, because, they're donating the time. We don't pay guests, right? So they're giving of their time, and many have returned for multiple appearances. And, I think that says something there. So I know I didn't answer your question with one guest per se, but, I appreciate it. And we've had, the one thing I will say, shameless plug about Sports Card Nation, the hobby's the people, right? Everybody's. We've had, 7-year-old, Parker Frederick-King. We've had Dr. James Beckett. We've had CEOs. We've had actors, Dwyer Brown. We've had athletes, Randy Lurch. We've, again, the hobby's the people. It doesn't matter what hat you wear. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you're interesting or part of this hobby in some form or fashion, we'll have you on. And I'm as far as I'm concerned, we're always going to be like that. Next one comes from Mike. He says, "What is it about you and Greg Jeffries?" All right, I like this one. I'm not gonna lie. Big, I have a lot of Greg Jeffries, like 3 binders worth of just rookie cards. Some of you may have heard that. I know it came up during a Card Mensch episode. And the reason was back in 89, 88, 89, his rookie type years. I was 16, 17 years old playing high school baseball. I was a Met fan, as I am today. And this is, pre-Bowman, like we know, where you hear about these prospects very early, like 4 or 5 years before they make their debut in the big leagues. Well, there was, this was before those times. And Greg Jeffries was getting a lot of hype. He was a Met. And I really started looking into, him and learning about him, and really, I think being a Met helped, but really became sort of someone I started to acquire as many cards as I could. And obviously 3 binders worth of rookies that I still have will tell you, how fever pitch I was acquiring his stuff. When I opened my store in 92, he was a guy who would not sell any of his cards. That was kind of my early, PC back then as a 20-year-old. So, and to this day, I know his career didn't pan out the way many kind of forecasted or hoped. Many people were hoping to send their kids to college on Greg Jeffries cards. But nonetheless, I still have a fondness in my heart, to the point where those three three-ring binders worth the rookies are still in my garage, and I'm not getting rid of them. That's a great segue into our next question that comes by the way of Tyler. Who should I invest in? There's that dreaded I word to some, right? Invest. But you can invest in cards. You've heard me get on that soapbox. I'm not going to do it again. I'm a firm believer you can potentially invest in anything. Doesn't mean you always win. You can lose, or you could make some money. But you can invest your money and time anywhere you choose. Listen, I just told you how I have three ring binders of Greg Jeffries. I'm not sure I'm the guy you want to take card investment advice from, right? I'll give you the old standby cliche, collect what you love, collect where if something went to zero, you'd still be happy owning it. I know it's cliche. I do some prospecting. That's something if you want to do, the opportunity is there. I think Ellie De La Cruz, I'm not telling you to invest in him because his prices are already high, but he's starting to look like he's going to be the real deal and be around for a long time to come. It's still early yet. Things can change, but I don't know if that investment ship has kind of left the port. You want to get in. If you're of that ilk, you want to get into guys probably a lot sooner than once they start producing at the major league level. That's the advantage you have with Bowman products and even the NIL now products, where you got guys kind of before they make an impact on a major league level or on whatever sport. So I know that really didn't give you a person. I mentioned Ellie De La Cruz, but whatever, do the research if you're so inclined, and collect and hobby the way it makes you want to be happy, right? It's an outlet. It'll be fun. So whatever way that is, again, as long as it's above board, go do it. All right, next question here from Rick Reeds. John, I really liked the Hobby Hotline show you're part of. I've been watching it a few years now. Appreciate having multiple panels. Having multiple panels, is that difficult to do when it's something you don't do all the time? Good question. Multiple panels, can be tricky. You got 3 or 4 people on at the same time. Everyone wants to get their point across. Sometimes people might talk at the same time. Sometimes when you do that long enough, it's like chemistry, right? Playing on a team with the same people for a while, you kind of know when someone's about to say something, so it makes it a little bit easier. But obviously, sometimes there are differences of opinion, and the one thing you have to do is even if someone doesn't agree with you, you have to be open to just respecting someone's opinion. Don't make it personal, and hopefully they don't make it personal in return, and you can agree to disagree. And I've changed my mind on panel discussions too. That's another great thing about panel discussions. You may get a different perspective that changes your perspective, and that's a great thing. Are they a little bit difficult to answer your question? More difficult? Yes, but they're more fun than difficult, and that's the great thing about them. All right, we'll do one more and wrap up this episode. I have a few more, but we'll save those for another Q&A edition down the line. This one comes from Brian. He says, John, I heard you say you don't bring PC cards to your show that you set up as a dealer. Can you explain why that may be the case? No interest in leveling up or upgrading? ? Brian, you probably didn't hear I did a whole episode right on this very show, Hobby Quick Hits. No problem. That's okay. That's what I'm here. That's why this episode, Q&A episode, exists. I'll give you the Cliff Notes answer rather than repeat that whole episode I did. Real quick, it's because I really don't have an intent to sell those cards. I'll use my Jackie, for example. Very content with it. Was my Grail card. Went, not having one for many years. Now finally got it last year. There's fear too there. I don't want to bring it with me. Something happens, it gets stolen, I misplace it somehow. I mean, I don't see how I do that, but stranger things have happened, right? It disappears, and I would be crushed, right? And I don't even want to. Theft does occur at shows sometimes, and I don't want to take that chance. And some might say, like you said in your question, Brian, what about maybe upgrading or trading up, so to speak, that you hear, and I'm not opposed to that, but I'm more of a buy-sell guy, so I'm more apt to buy maybe a better, higher grade, let's say, and then sell the old lesser grade, if you will. But I do like the card I have. I'm ecstatic owning it, and I'm not really pushing that envelope. But I understand why some dealers bring PC items. I'm not criticizing them. I'm just saying I don't do it. But I get why people do. There's nothing wrong with it, and I think it is a great opportunity. 2 things, right? To maybe potentially level up, trade up, get into a higher grade potentially. And it's, hey, listen, if you're proud of your cards and you love a card, why shouldn't you be able to show it off, right? And people be able to see it. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just choose not to do it. Another reason too, for me, showcase space is limited, right? If I put a PC card in there that I really am intent on not selling, it's taking up a spot for a card that I might be looking to buy another PC card. So that's really what it boils down to, those 2 things, right? Fear of something bad happening and, real estate space in the showcases. And so that's why I think if others who do it, there's nothing wrong with it. It's actually just a personal choice for me. All right, folks, that's going to do it for another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. I really do appreciate people sending those questions in, whether it be via DM, PM, Facebook, social media, emails. We've even gotten some through the website. Really appreciate where they're coming from and that we're getting them and can do these episodes. So we'll stockpile some more. We have a few more I didn't get to. We'll add to those with future ones, and somewhere down the line there'll be another edition of this. So thank you. Keep those questions coming. We'll give out the social medias next and call it a show. Thanks, everybody. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Want to give out our social media, starting with our website, which is www.sportscardnationpodcast.com. Facebook, you can follow us at www.facebook.com/SportsCardNationPodcast/ Twitter, we are at SportsCardNati1, so it's SportsCard NATI1. Instagram, at Sports Card Nation Podcast, or you can email the show hobbyquickhits@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.